You are tired of average. You want more out of life. You know you're capable of something greater. This show will help you become resilient in your home, at work, and in your community. Welcome to the Resilient Humans Podcast with your host, Kevin Wood. Welcome back to the Resilient Humans Podcast. Special guest today, coming out of Enfield, Nova Scotia. It's Megan Apostoleris. She loves CrossFit. She loves weightlifting. She's competed in both, retired RCMP officer, and I'd say a new CrossFit gym owner. You're kind of new in this area. So Megan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So we just saw each other just last weekend. You came down for our Maritime Mayhem competition and floored everybody with your performance. Especially during the finals, which I actually told you before. I was like, I can't wait to watch you do it.
Oh, man.
I ended up not being able to see anything you were doing because I spent most of my time upside down and falling over. But yeah, how'd you enjoy the experience?
It was honestly like I always get a little bit nervous competing no matter what the level of competition is. But it was really fun. Like there was only 3 of us in my division, which whatever. But they were awesome girls and they were just really fun to hang out with all day. And I did do like really well, which was cool. But honestly, like the highlight of that competition for me was watching those girls at the end, like get handstand walk reps. I mean, it was just really cool. And I remember those moments from my earlier days of CrossFit. So I thought it was awesome. I thought the programming was really good. I was really happy that, you stuck to your RX numbers. It was heavy. The movements were really like, legit. And I had a really good time. I'm really happy I did it.
Awesome. And I'll be down for your competition in a couple weeks as well. And looking forward to that. I've been out of the CrossFit competition side of it for quite a while. So, we do the hopper and it's just for fun. But getting back into it is definitely, it's interesting. That's all I'll say it's interesting.
It's nice to see you back competing. It's cool.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So tell our listeners a little bit about you. How did this whole like fitness thing start for you? Was it a young age or were you late into this?
It was fairly young, like not super young. I started playing baseball, softball, and hockey when I was like a young teenager, so like 13. And I grew up in a super small town, Pictou County, Nova Scotia, about like the woods. So there wasn't a lot of female hockey. I played guys hockey growing up. And then when I went to university, I played varsity hockey for Dalhousie, which at the time, like it wasn't female hockey was behind like the men's, obviously. So it was like decent hockey or whatever. But I ended up stumbling into CrossFit kind of by accident. I was working before my RCMP life. I was working at a fitness center, a chain of fitness centers that used to exist in the Maritimes called New Bodies. Good Life has since bought them. So I was working at a New Bodies and there was this dude there that was doing these boot camps that were like really fun. And I would go to them and his name was Brad. We're still friends. And I was like, Brad, like these boot camps are so hard. Like, where do you get your ideas? He's like, oh, I just go on this website called CrossFit.com. This was legit. Like I got in the RCMP in 2006. So this was before 2006. So very early days. So anyway, I was doing his boot camps. They were a blast, whatever, but I didn't think anything of that. I got into the RCMP, moved out west, which is where I was posted, and just going through the motions of normal gym life, like bicep curls, you just go to the gym and do cardio and then lift weights. And then I remember seeing this guy like on a pull-up bar doing what I now know are kipping pull-ups. And I was like, oh, those look cool. And I don't know, but for whatever reason, I associated that guy, and then it made me start thinking about those boot camps. So for whatever reason that night, I got home and I Googled like CrossFit Edmonton because that's where I was living. And 2 gyms came up. And one of them was like pretty close to where I live. So I go to their website. I know nothing about anything about CrossFit at this point. And the year now is 2008. And I click on this thing and it's like fundamentals course, 6-week fundamentals course, 3 times a week. Starting like the next day or something. So I contact them. They said, yeah, come in. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to the gym. So I'm like thinking I'm gonna end up at like a nice, beautiful fitness facility. So all of a sudden my GPS is taking me into like an industrial area, which obviously is normal for CrossFit gyms, but I had no clue. So I'm like, am I in the right place? Like the place didn't have a sign on the door, like open the door, peek in, and it like looks very much like a CrossFit gym, big open space, garage style, like old school. No one was in there except for the coach. I'm like, hey, I'm here for the fundamentals course. He's like, yeah, yeah, come in. Like, you're the only one signed up. I'm like, what? Like, okay. And I think it was a couple $100, like to do this fundamentals. And I was like, can I, like, I was a little weirded out. I was like, can I just like do the first one and then pay? And his name was Cam. And the gym was called CrossFit Lineage. Anyways, we go through the thing and he's showing me about squats and all the movements, which like I knew a bit about just from being an athlete. But anyway, the workout that he was going to put me through was called Fight Gone Bad, which is, a very famous CrossFit workout. And he was just going to have me do it alone. I was like, well, dude, like, can you just do it with me so I don't feel. And he's like, yeah, yeah, sure, I will. And so anyway, it was like 3, 2, 1, go, and we did Fight Gone Bad. And I remember by the end of it, I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. Like, I have to come back. And I did all the fundamentals. It was 6 weeks of 3 times a week. It was intense, and it was just me and Cam, and the other owner's name was Chris. And I would see like the regular people coming into class. They were just like regular looking chicks, but they could do like kipping pull-ups. And I was like, that's my goal. Like, I have to learn how. And so anyway, that's kind of how the journey started. And I was converted immediately and got, started like just really like, going to classes every day. And then quickly after that, like that was in, I think, the month of December, and I was transferring to Ottawa for part of my career, like a few months later. And like the first thing I did was like CrossFit Ottawa, where am I going to go? And there was no gyms there at the time. There was only one just across the bridge in Gatineau, Quebec. I would drive there every day to go. And then around like 2011, that's when the open started, and then the sport exploded. And I just kind of migrated from gym to gym, like based on geography and what was closest to me in Ottawa, as more opened. And then I just became like entrenched in the CrossFit community there as like just like a class athlete. And then, started getting kind of good at it, and then started training more competitively, and then started coaching. And now I own an affiliate. I always wanted to. And eventually the opportunity came along.
That's cool. I actually remember Cam. We competed at regionals 2010.
He passed away.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He took his own life.
Okay.
Yeah, several years ago, but he was cool, and he was a crazy good athlete. He was like a former
Yep.
trampoline guy, and he was so gymnastic and good. Yeah, he was cool. Yeah.
I remember one workout we did. It was burpees and double unders, and he
Mm,
absolutely demolished that workout.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember like he was like the first dude that I was like, wow, like this guy is really fit. Like I thought I was fit when I started going there, and you know how everyone does. Like, oh, I go to the gym, like,
yeah.
and when then I saw how he moved, and I was like, this is fitness. Like it was cool. It was eye-opening and life-changing.
So why? Let's go. We know the history. Let's get
Yeah.
into the current. Why did you start your gym in the first place?
So
You said you always wanted to do it. So
yeah,
what's the reason behind that?
the reason why I want to,
Yeah.
or why I wanted to. I think the reason why I really wanted to was there's several. The first reason I think is because CrossFit just like totally changed my life. Like I can't imagine what my life would be like without it. I think just from like on all levels, but I think from just like a confidence perspective, like it just made me almost who I am today. But on the other side of it is when I was living in Ottawa, that's where most of my CrossFit journey kind of took place. And when I became a coach, I started coaching at these gyms. And because of the nature of my personality, like I give everything 100%. And I was just like putting so much into coaching and like making their gyms better, other owners. And I was like, man, like I feel like I'm doing all of this and I care more about it than maybe even some of the owners. and I would do things a little different or whatever. It's, you know how when you have a teacher and then you want to be a teacher to like be all the things that you didn't have? Well, it was a little bit like that for me. And not to say that these affiliate owners, that the gyms that I went to, like they were all amazing. And like I have amazing things to say about all of them. But I just remember feeling like, wow, like I would love for this to be mine. And so I could really invest in it and feel like I was the one responsible for all the things. And so I just kind of always wanted to. It just seemed like something that I would be good at. And um, not necessarily like the coaching part, even though that's now kind of where I've gravitated. Like I always just wanted to be the behind the scenes, like running the business, doing all the administrative stuff, like keeping everything running really well. It just always seemed very appealing to me. And when I was in Ottawa, like there was a few semi opportunities that like kind of came about, but like none of them really came to fruition. And then I ended up moving back to Nova Scotia. This is where I'm originally from. And I just like stumbled into this gym in Elmsdale called Renfrew, which existed for many years before I bought it. And I was like looking around and being like, this needs to be an affiliate, and this area needs an affiliate. Like there's none here. And there's so many people and it's exploding. And so I was like, I kind of had it in my head. And then I met my current business partner, John, through the weightlifting world. And he also happened to be training at Renfrew. And we just like were chatting one day and about CrossFit. And he didn't do CrossFit. He was just a weightlifter, not just a weightlifter. He was a weightlifter. And I was like, we should like start a CrossFit affiliate. And he kind of just like chuckled at me. And like, I thought, he was just like, whatever. And then a couple of weeks later, he like came back to me and was like, that idea that you had about CrossFit affiliate, I think we should do it. And I was like, okay, it's on. Like, let's figure out a way. And then it kind of just went from there. And we barely knew each other. And we're obviously, really close now because we own this business together and we do everything together. But yeah, it was kind of just like it magically kind of happened. It could have went really badly, but it's going amazing.
What have been the biggest lessons you've learned since opening the gym?
It is so much work. It is so much more work than I ever could have imagined. And I know that I'm speaking with you and you've been doing this for many, many years. And like I said, I've been to a lot of gyms, and until I owned my own, I definitely did not appreciate the amount of work that goes into it. Like another gym around here called Blended Athletics. They're a former affiliate and now still very much, a CrossFit type of gym. They just had their 11 years, and like I went to their little party, and it's just like 11 years, like we're 2 years in, and it's like every day there's like moments that are unreal, and it reminds you of the reasons why you did it. But every day there's moments where you're like, oh my God, like I can't believe how much work this is. And it never goes away. Like it's yours. Like and if you're a person that cares about everything deeply, which I am that type, and I think most entrepreneurs would be, it's never far from your mind. Like I don't have kids. I feel like this is my child. Like it's hard for me to leave when I'm gone. I feel like I'm, what's happening at the gym. Like I'm checking on the cameras. I want it to be amazing because I care so much about the members and like what we're creating. So I guess like that's a really long answer, but the biggest lesson is just like the work is unbelievably hard. Like it's just, there's a lot of work. None of the tasks are hard. It's just always there. And it's like a part of you, as you know.
I find it hard to turn the brain off. Like
Yeah.
it's really tough. It's funny because today as an example was one of the days was like, there's a lot. Like I could tell my breathing was elevated. My stress
Yeah.
is high. I'm already like, tonight's not going to be a good night's sleep. Like I'm already building that up in my head.
Yeah.
So then earlier today, I'm like, there's a new float business that just opened up. I'm like, I wonder if I can get into a float therapy tomorrow before I drive down to
Yeah.
Nova Scotia for a comp, like just to clear my mind a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't turn it off.
It's really hard to turn. You can't turn it off. And and I don't know, like, I feel like my priorities in terms of my own, maybe competing part of my whatever journey, career, whatever might be like my priorities are changing in that way. But I do find it more difficult to, like, if I just want to come into the gym and do a workout, sometimes I find that difficult because I'll come into the gym and I'll notice that something's dirty or something
Yep.
needs to be cleaned. Or so I find myself like I still am very much prioritizing my own training. I haven't deprioritized it, but I will sometimes opt to go train at Blended, like it's the closest gym, because when I go there, I can just be an athlete again
Correct.
and not think about any of it. Or like I find even sometimes when I like attending my coaches' classes here, but sometimes I find myself, being in my mind, even like critiquing their style, or why are they not coaching it this way, or this is how I would do it differently, and the members, I wonder what they're thinking, and or the members will be asking me for stuff and I just want to be in the class. So I do find that separation, it's just you have to find, I personally have had to find ways to just like mitigate that, because I still am treating my own competitive training as a priority. And I don't know, maybe that will change in the future, but I'm not ready for it to change yet. So that part of it's hard for me.
Yeah. I have a home gym here and it's necessary.
Yeah.
If, you know, I know when I go into the gym, like it happened tonight, I
Yeah.
had a blank of time between two meetings
Yeah.
and I was like, what am I going to fill that time with? It
Yeah.
wasn't just nothing. I couldn't do
Yeah.
nothing. So
Yeah.
I pulled it, like the class was over. So I pulled one of the athletes out and grabbed him and threw him in the office and just had a goal review session with him.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I'm going to do something while I'm here. So
Yes.
yeah, very hard to turn off and
Yeah.
disassociate. So,
Yeah.
um, why is competing so important to you? This is something that a consistent theme with you. I mean, just going through your numbers here, 47th in the Open, 19th in quarterfinals, 10th in semifinals, and then 8th in the world for your age category. So obviously, competing is a high priority for you. Why is it so important to you?
It's an interesting question. And as I sort of like segued into earlier, like it's becoming less important. I think it was important to me because I think there was a point in time in my life where I sought out, the external validation of like, good job, like you're good at this. That's awesome. Like bum taps. Um, where now I feel like I don't really need that. Like I like where my training is. I feel like I'm still getting fitter and better at stuff, everything still. And then on a day of a competition, it's really cool when your training and everything aligns and the stars align perfectly and you execute perfectly on that day. But there's so many other factors and that don't really, it's not that one day of competition and the podium isn't really a good reflection maybe of all the work you've put in and where you really are. So competing, I think, was like a large part maybe of like my identity in a way. Like I got good at CrossFit, really good at it. And I just started really craving that feeling of like, wicked, you won, like you won, you won, you won. Um, and then I I never even had written down as a goal that I wanted to make it to the CrossFit Games, because as a masters athlete, as you know, like getting there, like it used to be the top 10 out of out of the world, based purely on online qualifiers, like which is like a needle in the haystack. Like it's crazy when you go through the process and see how crazy it is. So I never even had it written down to like try to get there. But then like my, efforts awarded me that opportunity. I got to go to the games last year. They were like combined masters and, open in Madison. And it was unreal. Like it was the coolest experience. It was every emotion, stressful, amazing. Like I cried at the end. Like it was just really, really cool. And I like ever since then, things have just felt a little different in terms of my like need to compete. Like your competition the other day, it was super fun and I loved every minute of it. But like I don't feel like I like need to do it to like make myself feel complete anymore. Or I feel like there was an element of that before, for sure.
I definitely feel the same. one of our members posted a cool video. They're like, I'm not signing up for a competition to come in 35th. I'm signing up for these competitions for the memories that I'm going to build with my friends and the people that are around me as a result.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I really do, because I've been in this game for a long time now. Competitions feel different now than they used to. Because
Hmm.
back when I started the Hopper at frig 2009, it was like the community event. It's
Yeah.
everybody from every gym came. They brought all
Yeah.
their friends, all their
Yeah.
members, and it was like a Woodstock almost,
Yeah.
right? And now
Yeah.
there's just so many of them. People are
Yeah.
picking and choosing, and you don't
Yeah.
see everybody all the time. And even like I'm trying to in that maritime affiliate owners group, just trying to get the owners to like tell me when your goddamn
I
competition is
know.
so I can put it on a calendar. Like
Yeah.
I want your events to be successful. Why don't you?
It's
It's
strange.
frustrating.
Yeah, it is strange. I will say a big part of competition for me for sure is the vibe. Like I love it's like a reunion, like you said, like how your hopper was. Like you go there, you see everyone, it's really cool. That's a big part of it. And another big part of it, I think, too, and I was listening to a podcast, a CrossFit podcast last night, and they were talking about like obviously there's like some controversy going on in the CrossFit space right now, but they were kind of talking about like what would happen if there was no more CrossFit games? Like, would it affect the quality of everything in the affiliates? Like the quality of like the movements and and like one of the guys who was on the podcast was saying, yeah, because we see different levels of athletes within our affiliate and then beyond. And it's what drives the like level of fitness up, like forward. Like if you look at the level of athletes back when CrossFit first started, like it's crazy how far the sport has come. And we were having a discussion last night about that, where it's just like, beginner athletes see, mediocre athletes and they're like, wow, I could do that. And then like mediocre athletes see, maybe someone like me and be like, wow, if she can do that, I can do that. Like, that's what I want to do. And then like athletes like me see, the games athletes of the world, like, man, if they can do that, like I can do that. So I do think the element of competition and then the sport and everything, it's still very important in terms of like the driving force behind everything. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, the competition aspect for sure. And I'm all over the place, but yeah, I don't know what goes on in that maritime affiliate owners group. It doesn't seem like there's like a community vibe,
Yeah.
and I don't get it.
It was years and years ago. I think it was maybe 2010. I think there was about 6 or 7 affiliates in the Maritimes at that time, and I would gather everybody at Cross of Moncton. And so it was
Yeah,
like Mike Ives and Mike Jackson and Anthony and Jody Bainbridge, and we
yeah,
would all just meet at the gym and talk about
yeah,
the annual plan. How are we
yeah,
going to grow this movement in the Maritimes
yeah,
as a group, not
yeah,
individually?
yeah,
And it was so cool to do. CrossFit Kinetics was still around by
yeah,
then.
man.
Um, and then for whatever reason, it just kind of, there were so many gyms. Like we used to go
Yeah,
to all the grand openings.
yeah,
CrossFit Summerside opened up. We're like, tell us the date. We'll bring a bunch
yeah,
of members and we'll come down for
yeah.
your grand opening. And now there's gyms opening up everywhere and we don't even know who they
You don't
are.
even know. I know.
Never met
And
them
it's
before in
so
my life.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like when you just hearing you speak about like those people, all those OGs who opened affiliates back in the day, like that's sort of like how I see myself. Even though I didn't own an affiliate back then, like one of the first gyms I went to was Tony and Jody's, and
Same.
they ran it. They had a tiny little space and they had everything perfectly controlled and like, like everything was organized. And they were one of the first people I met in the CrossFit world. And yeah, like Mike Jackson, like I went to one of his competitions back several years ago. Like I flew from Ottawa and did it with my brother. And anyway, like those are like the old school mentality people, and you as well. And there's definitely a different feel now. And I think that's where there just seems like there's a bit of a divide in the CrossFit world these days. And the people who get like the people who get criticized for criticizing CrossFit are not like they're giving constructive criticism because they want to make it better and they want it, and like it's just such a weird thing. It's like our world these days in general, but
Yeah.
um yeah, I want to be a part of the maritime affiliate community that you were growing back then. Like that's the vibe I want to have. So if ever you need people to collaborate with, we're on board.
Good. And that's what I'm pushing for. Like I want those that are willing and able to do that. And
Yeah,
those that don't want to be a part of it, that's okay. Like
that's okay.
I'm not
Yeah.
forcing you or anything. So, but
Yeah.
I do want this thing to grow because, rising tides raise all ships.
Yeah.
We want this thing to expand. Not nobody's nobody's in competition with each other when it comes to CrossFit.
No,
That's the
no.
crazy part. Like everybody
Yes.
has this very um reductive way of thinking. Like it's everything's mine. I have to keep everything in, and nothing's static. People are always moving, and
Yeah.
if we have somebody moving to Nova Scotia, we have certainly gyms that we would recommend. People move to Cape Breton, same idea. So it's
Yeah.
you know as
Yeah.
long as we have those open
Absolutely.
talks and open relationships with the other gyms, then it's going to
Yeah.
help everybody in the long run.
Whenever we have a drop in from another gym, like I'll always find out what their gym is and then I'll send them a message and be like, we had a drop in from your gym. She was awesome. Like I love the community part of it. Like that was what really drew me in. Like I felt and still do feel like I could move anywhere in the world and
Yeah.
have immediate friends. And that's what it's all about. Like that's the coolest part of traveling, going into other boxes, and everyone speaks the same language. Even if you're in another country, it's like wall balls, like you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like that's the coolest part about it. And I mean, I think that's what really like the working out is amazing for sure, but the community of it all is what is super cool.
When we went on our honeymoon, we went to CrossFit Switzerland. Yeah, it was
Cool.
CrossFit Zurich in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And at the end of the workout, I asked the guy if he had any shirts for sale. And he goes, "No, we don't have any shirts, but you can have mine." And he literally took it
Oh,
off his body and
amazing.
gave it to me. I'm like, that's it. That's the
100%
CrossFit community in
amazing.
a nutshell.
Yeah.
Like, it's so
Yeah.
cool. So
So
yeah, you
cool.
you can go anywhere in the world and you're going to be taken care of. It's like a
Yep.
family. I find the
Yep.
same is true for Go Ruck. Like I
Yep.
made friends all over the world through those events. So we go to
Mhm.
Florida and have a free place to stay anytime we
Cool.
want to go, right?
That's
And
awesome.
I'm sure the RCMP has a very similar vibe
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
Firefighting, exact same thing. So
Yeah.
it's all family based.
Yeah.
Um, I I kind of tapped into what you said a little bit earlier about how the world is changing and whatnot. And I wrote this down prior to us jumping on because I feel like it sums up you very well. And I wrote down unapologetically honest.
Yeah. I feel like I am that.
Describe what that means to you.
I mean,
Like if
to
anybody
me,
follows, so first off, you
yeah,
need to follow you on social media to really understand what this means. But let's hear it from the horse's mouth here.
it's hard to explain. I just feel like being a bullshitter isn't cool. So I'm just not one. And some people really like that and some people don't. Um, a quote that always really resonates with me is like, the truth is like poetry, and most people hate poetry. Um, it's like people I find, and I don't know if it's maybe over the last few years, I've just become more attuned to it, but I just find people want to be only told nice things, only told things that are going to like make them feel good about themselves, even when sometimes you're just stating a fact and it's not attached to any feelings or anything. But people tend to, unless you like sugarcoat it in a way that sounds nice, people think that you're being aggressive when in fact you're not at all. And I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that I don't have, weaknesses. And sometimes like my delivery is not always the best, but and sometimes, there are circumstances where I for sure could soften my approach and that would probably benefit me, and getting more buy-in on certain things. But I will say that like everything that I say and do is done like from the heart and with only good in that heart. So if I'm saying like, no, no, that's not how you lift a barbell, you do it like this. And maybe I don't say it like, okay, like next time be like, if I say it direct to you, that's because I care and I want you to understand it. It's not because, I want to make you feel like an ass in front of the class or whatever. And like, I try to be very encouraging and whatever, but that's an example. But I just feel like direct communication is important. And you don't need all these extra words. I mean, that's your thing too. Like use the words that are proper.
Mean what you
And
say and say what you mean. Like it's
yes.
it.
Yeah. Don't say, oh yeah, I might, da, 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 say I'm not or I am. Or, or say that you don't know. And maybe you actually don't know. But yeah, I just that part of your personality really resonates with me. Like I like the directness. And yeah, I've been told a million times, like I hear it over and over in my life, like people who do give me that 5 minutes, and that's all it takes. I'm an open book. It takes 5 minutes or less for people to actually realize that I'm a very, very kind and soft-hearted person. So people that do give me that 5 minutes
It's funny. Yeah.
they always say like, oh, when I first met you, I was like very intimidated, blah, blah, blah. And like, I don't I don't see myself as intimidating. Like if you could be inside here, like you would, you know, see that maybe this outer hardness is, maybe a bit of a protective mechanism for my own shit. And I'm very caring. I take things very like to heart. If a member cancels at my gym, I'm just like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's I guess the long answer to your question.
It's funny that I subscribe or whatever. I have this app. It's the daily motivation app, and it sends you a daily quote. This was today's: "Feelings are not facts."
Yeah,
I was
they're
like,
not.
"Damn, that's a good one."
Yes.
It's a good
Oh
one.
man. Like, yeah. And I just find, and again, I don't know, my view on the world changed a lot during the COVID time. Like, I don't know if the world changed or I opened my eyes more, but how I saw things definitely changed throughout that time. And I find that like there's this big, huge emphasis on like people's feelings, and there's not an emphasis on facts. And just because you feel a certain way, like you can fabricate that feeling out of nothing.
Correct.
So it's like my mom always says it to me, like, I feel like you're talking down to me. And I'm like, but I'm not. Well, that's how I feel. And I'm like, but I'm telling you I'm not. Like, and I'm the one talking. So like anyway, yeah, my mom and I have these conversations often. Like she feels like I'm, belittling her or like talking down to her when I'm just saying like, this is not the computer you want. This is the computer you want because it does these things and this doesn't. That's a fact.
Facts. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
So anyway,
it's
yeah.
I believe that it's challenging for people like us to understand that because we want to be told in the least amount of words possible.
Yes.
Tell me what you want. I don't want to have to
Yes.
guess.
Yes.
Take the guesswork out of it. Is it a
Yes.
yes or is it a no? That's all I
Yes.
need to know.
I know.
Everything
And I
else is
don't,
fluff. It's a waste of time. I don't care.
uh-huh.
So,
Yeah, I feel that for sure. I like factual information and brief, concise, just get to the point.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people feel like that's abrasive. Like
Yeah.
I've always been told I'm unapproachable.
Yeah, I get told that a little bit too. And I mean, I know I have a certain look about me too. And I used to have really short hair, and that made it even more so. And I'm, muscular and I carry myself a certain way. And I don't want to appear as abrasive or unapproachable, but I do get told that a lot. So, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, I feel I can relate.
So let's shift gears now again. I want to
Okay.
know what's in Megan's future plans. Where do you see yourself maybe in the next year to 5 years?
In terms of like
Whatever. What are you going to be
athletics
doing?
or,
Like you're obviously you probably still plan on running this gym and
yeah.
and seeing it succeed and grow. So where's that going to get you?
Yeah. So I guess I've never haven't written down or really tangibly like thought about a 5-year plan. But if I was to like, think about it right now, I mean, I think in 5 years I will still be working at my full-time job, which I still do full-time work for the RCMP, but as a civilian now. And I'm lucky enough to get to do that 100% from my home, which is unreal. Um, but I do see myself still definitely running this affiliate. I think 5 years would be on the verge of when. So we moved into this building in August. we have plans for an even, a different, this isn't our forever home if everything continues to go according to plan. So I would say within the next 5 years, like maybe we could be in the new place or like heading in that direction. Um, the affiliate will grow. I would assume it would still be an affiliate. I'm definitely diehard CrossFit. We have High Rocks at our gym as well, so both are great. And I would like to become at least a level 3 CrossFit instructor and maybe beyond. I mean, I would love to work for CrossFit at some point. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I would love to be like seminar staff and go around putting on courses. I think the CrossFit courses are some of the best courses I've ever been on in the way that they're executed and the way that they teach things. So, I mean, that's always kind of in the back of my mind. I just recently started like looking into what it would take to do my level 3. And right now the showstopper is like a first aid course, which is annoying. Um, yeah, like, can I not just get it like once anyway, blah, blah, blah.
We'll
But yeah.
chat. I have some sneaky ways around some of this stuff. So
Oh,
we,
I'll
we can
send
we
you
can
a
chat
message
after. Oh
after.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've taken a first aid course like every year for the last millions of years. But anyways, so yeah, I just in terms of my own like competitions, like I said, like I feel a bit of a shift. Um, but the shift might just be in my mindset. Like I don't ever have a plan to like not do the open.
Yeah.
But I might just like do it and not be obsessed with it. And then if I go to the games, if I continue to, then cool. But if not, like cool. That's very much not really my personality. Like I do really get obsessed. So I mean that would be a challenge to do, but I do feel like I'm putting a lot like for the open, like for me now, like last year, I really felt it. This year, it's going to be even more. Like, I really want the open to be epic for my members. Like, for me, it's like I'll get the workouts done whenever on the side when no one's around and like whatever. I've done it a million times, but we're building, like, we built this CrossFit community from nothing, like from the ground up. And to see it growing is like really cool. And sometimes I forget. And then I'll have these moments where I'm like, wow, like we created this. Um, so my priority is like really like just sharing my passion um and just growing the community and making it as awesome as I can. So like I feel like that's taken the top rung of my priority ladder. And my own is like still up there, but if I had to choose, I think right now I would choose to make it better for my members if I had to pick one.
Cool.
Yeah.
I always end my episodes with the same questions, and I didn't prepare you for this at all. So I would love to hear. This is the Resilient Humans podcast, and so I'd like to hear what your definition is, or how would you describe resiliency in your own words?
Resiliency for me would be like when something needs to get done, you get it done. There's no like, oh, I don't feel like it. I'm not motivated. For me, resiliency and like discipline have a huge correlation. And discipline for me has been extremely important in my own like mental health journey. And it's and routine. Like, so resiliency is like when things need to be done, do them, create yourself a routine, stick to it, whatever that looks like for you. Write it down if you need to, put it in your phone calendar, but like have a plan and execute it no matter what.
Love it, because feelings aren't facts.
No, feeling it. I
The
like,
fact
yeah,
is, you need to get that shit done.
you need to get it done. And if you don't feel like it, well, it still needs to get done.
Cool.
Yeah.
Megan, if my listeners would like to find you on the socials, where would they go?
They can go to so many places right now. So you can just look my name up, Megan Apostoleris. I have Instagram, I have Facebook. I hashtag inspire by accident. So you can follow that hashtag. It kind of just like became a thing when I started becoming more competitive in CrossFit. And people were telling me all the time how I was inspiring them. And I'm just like, I'm just doing my thing, man. I'm just doing it by accident. So I started hashtagging that. And you can also, even more importantly, follow my gym, CrossFit Renfrew Strength and Conditioning. It's on Instagram and Facebook. And we're hosting a super sick competition in December. It also has its own page called Triage Competition. And it's linked to Renfrew's as well. So yeah, a few different spots. Follow me on all of them. And yeah.
Sweet. And you just posted a really sweet video. Was it? I think it was this morning.
Oh, the
Maybe
one
was
about
it?
my community?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
How like this is what you think CrossFit is.
Yeah.
Here's what it
Yeah.
actually looks like.
Yeah, that
I
was
thought that was
super fun.
amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Go watch it if you haven't. It was really, really fun to make. And yeah, it's like one of those things you forget how amazing it is. And then you make this video and you're like, holy smokes, like this is really cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Megan, I appreciate you coming on here today. I know a lot of the stuff you talked about, our listeners will be able to relate to it as well. So thanks for coming on, and we'll see you very shortly.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for being a role model in the space.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with others or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest episodes, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.